This is my favorite affirmation. We deserve the best, and we are willing to accept it. I have loved these words for such a long time because they are not only beautiful, they are revealing. They show us where we still shrink, where we still apologize for our own worth, where we still ask life for crumbs while saying we want a feast. So many people tell me they want a better life, a healthier love, more peace, more ease, more joy, and I believe them. I truly do. But then I look more closely, and I see that somewhere inside they are still used to less. They still call exhaustion normal. They still call self-criticism discipline. They still call toxic love what I can get. They still ask for peace while feeding their minds a steady diet of fear. My dear, the best cannot fully enter where the heart still believes. It must settle for scraps. And so this affirmation is not just a wish, it is a wake-up call. It says, I am no longer willing to live below the truth of my own value. Now, when I say the best, I do not mean more than someone else. I do not mean winning, dominating, outperforming, proving. I am not talking about ego trophies. I am talking about the highest quality of experience your soul truly needs in order to flourish, the healthiest love you are able to receive, the most peaceful way your body can be cared for, the most honest life your spirit can live, a gentler home inside yourself, a clearer mind, a calmer nervous system, a life that is not constantly at war with your own heart. The best is not comparison. The best is truth. It is what is deeply aligned with who you really are, not what would simply make you look successful from the outside. I remember a woman once saying to me, Louise, I don't want to ask for too much. And I said, sweetheart, maybe you are not asking for too much. Maybe you are only just beginning to stop accepting too little. There is such a difference. So many of us were trained to lower the standard of how we are treated, how we speak to ourselves, how much rest we allow, how much joy we can tolerate. We were taught to call survival gratitude. We were taught to call deprivation humility. We were taught to stay where we were drained because at least it was familiar. But the moment you begin to believe you deserve the best, your standards start to change, quietly, naturally. You do not become arrogant, you become honest. You begin to notice, this relationship is costing me too much peace. This habit is not loving. This way I speak to myself is not the truth. Declaring that you deserve the best is how you raise the standard of love you are willing to live with. You start to stay less often in places that make you smaller. You stop calling chaos normal. You stop confusing intensity with love. You stop praising yourself for enduring what should never have been asked of you in the first place. And this is not because you are suddenly demanding or difficult. It is because your inner life is beginning to remember its dignity. A person who knows their worth does not need to shout. They simply stop negotiating with what diminishes them. Self-worth changes what feels acceptable. What you once tolerated because you felt you had no choice begins to feel foreign. Not because you became better than anyone else, but because you finally stopped abandoning yourself. And then we come to the second half of the affirmation. And this is where it becomes very tender. We are willing to accept it. So many people can nod when they hear, "You deserve the best." They say, "Yes, I know, I know." But willingness is another doorway entirely. You can believe something is beautiful and still not be ready to let it in. You can admire peace and still be deeply habituated to drama. You can say you want love and still feel terrified of being truly seen. You can ask for abundance and still be frightened of the responsibility, visibility, and change that abundance might bring. Deserving is one thing, receiving is another. This is why I love the word willing. It is such a gentle bridge. It does not force. It does not pretend. It simply opens. It says, I may still be learning. I may still be a little afraid, but I am willing. If you are willing to accept the best, that means you begin to stop arguing with goodness when it comes near. You stop doubting every kind thing. You stop backing away just because something beautiful feels unfamiliar. You stop sabotaging what is starting to bloom because part of you whispers, "This is too good to be true." My dear, some of the best things in life feel unfamiliar at first, precisely because they are healthier than what you are used to. Unfamiliar does not mean unsafe. Sometimes unfamiliar simply means healed. I think of the people who long for calm and yet feel restless the moment life becomes peaceful. They do not know what to do without a problem to solve, a crisis to manage, a wound to rehearse. They say they want peace, but their bodies have learned to live inside tension. Or the people who say they want to be loved, but the moment someone meets them with steadiness and tenderness, they feel bored or suspicious because there is no drama to chase. They want the blessing, but not the strangeness of becoming the person who can hold it. That is why willingness matters so much. Willingness is how we stop resisting the very thing we prayed for. Let me say that another way. There are doors in your life that have not remained closed because life rejected you. They have remained closed because, deep down, you were not yet ready to walk through them. Not morally unworthy, not spiritually wrong, simply not yet willing. Not yet willing to let love be gentle. Not yet willing to let enough be enough. Not yet willing to stop identifying with struggle. Not yet willing to be seen in your radiance instead of only in your wounds. And that is all right. We do not shame ourselves for that. We become tenderly aware. We say, "Ah, I see. There is still a part of me that clings to the familiar pain." And then we begin the soft work of opening. Many blessings do not need to be created. They need to be allowed. I remember a time in my own life when I saw very clearly that I was still pulling away from the good. I could say all the right words, but when support came, I became awkward. When affection came, I doubted it. When life softened, I waited for it to harden again. And I had to admit to myself, Louise, you may believe in good, but you are not yet fully willing to live there. That was such an important realization, because once you can see the resistance, you stop mistaking it for reality. You stop saying, good things don't stay, and start saying, there is a part of me still learning how to stay present when good things arrive. That is a very different sentence. One imprisons you, the other opens a path. So maybe this affirmation becomes a daily practice for you now, not as a slogan you rush through, but as a mirror. Place your hand on your heart and say slowly, we deserve the best and we are willing to accept it. Then listen, where do you tighten? Where do you pull back? Where do you suddenly think of all the reasons it could not be true? Those are precious clues. Those are the old beliefs asking to be loved out of hiding. You might hear, not me, or that's for other people, or I'll lose it anyway, or I should be grateful for less. Let those voices come into the light without shame. Then answer them softly. Thank you, old belief. I am learning something new now. And what are you learning? You are learning that receiving the best does not mean demanding a perfect life. It means no longer settling for what harms your spirit. It means no longer partnering with the voices that tell you to shrink, wait, endure, and call it humility. It means opening the hands, relaxing the jaw, softening the nervous system, saying yes to support, yes to health, yes to honesty, yes to joy that does not need to be earned through suffering. You do not have to apologize for your value. You do not have to become more wounded in order to deserve more healing. You do not have to become smaller in order to be lovable. There is such freedom in finally saying, I am allowed to have a life that feels better than this, a relationship that is kinder than this, thoughts that are gentler than this, a body that is treated with more reverence than this, sleep that is deeper than this, work that is less punishing than this, silence that is more peaceful than this. This is not selfishness, it is alignment. It is the soul returning to its natural standard. The best for you may not be flashy, but it will feel true. It will feel less like performance and more like home. So let this affirmation settle into you now, not only as hope, but as direction. We deserve the best, and we are willing to accept it. Again, we deserve the best, and we are willing to accept it. One more time, and this time, let your body hear it too. We deserve the best, and we are willing to accept it. Feel what happens when you stop asking life for permission to value yourself. Feel what happens when you stop mistaking suffering for depth. Feel what happens when you stop apologizing for wanting what is healthy, loving, peaceful, and real. You are not asking for too much, my dear. You may simply be awakening from a long habit of asking for too little. And in the next part, we can go deeper still into the hidden beliefs that keep people loyal to less than they deserve. Those quiet agreements with scarcity, with struggle, with emotional crumbs, and how to dissolve them so that the life you truly deserve no longer feels distant, but increasingly natural to receive. And this is where the whole journey becomes very honest, very tender, and very real. Because sooner or later, you have to stop speaking only about worthiness in theory and begin meeting the places inside you that still do not believe it. There is something about a mirror that can make even a very strong person suddenly feel small. You may speak beautiful affirmations while you are driving, washing dishes, walking down the street, and part of you can agree with them. But the moment you stand still, look directly into your own eyes and say, I deserve to have what I truly desire. The body often tells the truth much faster than the mind does. The throat tightens, the shoulders pull in, the stomach hardens, a little laugh comes up, or a wave of discomfort, or a voice that says, no, you don't. And I want you to know, sweetheart, that none of that means you are failing. It means you have touched something real. Resistance is not failure. It is often the first honest doorway into healing. I have always loved mirror work because it is so direct. The mirror does not create your insecurity. It simply reveals where it is still living. It does not make you feel unworthy. It shows you the places where unworthiness has already been hiding in your consciousness, waiting to be seen. Many people are perfectly willing to talk about self-love, but when they stand before a mirror and try to say one kind, deserving sentence, they immediately discover how much of their inner life has been built around apologizing for their own existence. That can be painful to notice. It can be humbling. It can even make you want to turn away. And still, I want you to stay. Not to force anything, not to win at mirror work, but to remain there long enough to meet yourself with truth instead of performance. I remember times in my own life when I looked in the mirror and found it easier to notice every flaw than to offer one sentence of tenderness. It is a strange thing, isn't it? A human being can survive so much, carry so much, endure so much, and still stand in front of a mirror as though she must justify why she deserves good things. We learn this very early. We learn to evaluate ourselves by appearance, by achievement, by who stays, by who leaves, by whether we please the room. So when you look into your own eyes and say, I deserve to have what I long for, and I accept it now, you are not merely repeating a phrase. You are confronting old agreements, old loyalties, old wounds, old sentences that got into your system before you were old enough to question them. No wonder the body reacts. No wonder the heart trembles. The mirror is not making you smaller. It is helping you find the place in you that still feels it must ask permission to be fully received. So let us make this very simple. Stand before a mirror, not because you are trying to admire yourself or criticize yourself, but because you are trying to meet yourself. Look into your own eyes, not at your clothes, not at your hair, not at the details you usually use to distract yourself from the real meeting. Look into your eyes and say slowly, "I deserve to have," and then name what you truly long for: peace, health, love, rest, a healthy relationship, a gentle home, honest work, a stronger body, a calmer mind. Say it plainly. Then finish the sentence, "And I accept it now, not tomorrow, not when you earn it, not when you become a better person, now." And then be quiet for a moment. Listen, feel what happens in the body. Do you feel embarrassed, heavy, skeptical, angry, sad, relieved, numb? That reaction is precious information. It is not a problem to hide from. It is the place that is asking for love. If you feel resistance, do not turn that into another reason to attack yourself. Just breathe and say, "I release the pattern in my consciousness that is creating resistance to my good." Again, slowly. "I release the pattern in my consciousness that is creating resistance to my good." This sentence is so powerful because it does not shame you. It does not say, "What is wrong with me?" It says, "There is a pattern here, and I am willing to let it go." That is a very different relationship with healing. And this is important, my dear. When you do mirror work, you are not trying to get rid of discomfort in one dramatic moment. You are building your capacity to stay present with yourself lovingly. That is the healing. If you can look into your own eyes, hear the old protest rise up, and still remain there with kindness, something shifts. You become less afraid of your own inner life. You become more available to truth. You begin to understand that what has been hidden does not need more rejection. It needs to be seen in love. What you dare to look at with tenderness is what begins, little by little, to loosen its hold on you. Sometimes the first response you hear inside will be surprisingly harsh. You may say, "I deserve to have a peaceful life," and hear, "No, you don't. You should be stronger first." Or, "I deserve to be loved well," and hear, "That's not for people like you." Or, "I deserve rest," and hear, "You haven't done enough." These voices may sound like your own voice, but very often they are echoes, old teachers, old partners, old fears, old family patterns, old cultural messages. Mirror work helps you separate what is true from what is familiar. That is why the discomfort matters. It is not proof that the affirmation is false. It is proof that some old part of you has not yet caught up with the truth you are now learning to live in. You may need to do this gently and repeatedly. One day you may say, "I deserve to have love," and cry. Another day you may laugh nervously. Another day you may feel almost nothing. Another day you may suddenly feel a deep quiet, as if some part of you is finally willing to believe. Let it be a process. Let it be human. Let it be imperfect. There is no prize for being instantly convinced. The real miracle is that you keep returning. The person you become by showing up to the mirror with love matters more than how quickly the resistance disappears. And then Once you begin to see where self-rejection still lives, the next truth becomes unavoidable. The best does not begin in some imagined future. It begins in the very ordinary way you are treating yourself today. A person who truly believes they deserve the best does not only have a beautiful philosophy, they live differently, they rest differently, they eat differently, they speak to themselves differently, they choose companions differently, they spend their time differently, they recover differently when they make mistakes. Self-worth is not just a lovely idea. It becomes a very practical way of moving through life. You can always tell what someone believes they deserve by the quality of what they repeatedly allow into their mind, body, schedule, and relationships. Think about that for a moment. A person who feels deeply unworthy may still speak spiritual language, may still say they want health, peace, abundance, and love. But their daily life often tells another story. They rush through meals. They call exhaustion normal. They make themselves the last priority. They stay in environments that deplete them. They allow inner dialogue that no loving person would speak aloud to a child. They keep asking for a better life while treating themselves as an afterthought. My dear, there is such heartbreak in that, to long for beauty and still live as though you are the least important person in your own life. There are people who say, I deserve the best, and yet every day they abandon their body, their peace, their boundaries, and their truth. That is not because they are hypocrites. It is because belief has not yet become embodiment. They are still splitting themselves. One part asks for healing, another part continues the old neglect. One part asks for a loving life. Another part keeps choosing what feels familiar over what feels nourishing. One part wants peace. Another part feeds on self-attack because it still confuses criticism with control. This is why I say so often that your inner life must become consistent. What you say you want and how you actually treat yourself need to begin moving in the same direction. You cannot keep asking for a healthy life while behaving as though your body is a burden. You cannot ask for peace while running a courtroom in your head from morning to night. You cannot ask for a great love while continuing to teach yourself by repetition that scraps are enough. You cannot pray for a gentler existence while being the harshest voice in your own life. What you repeatedly do with yourself each day becomes the emotional standard you are unconsciously accepting. That is why the little things matter so much. The glass of water, the bedtime, the boundary, the pause before the cruel inner sentence, the way you speak to yourself after an imperfect moment, the walk you take instead of another hour of numbing out. These things may seem small, but they are how self-worth becomes visible. I remember realizing one day that I could not keep talking about loving myself while still treating my own nervous system as something to override and ignore. I could not keep saying, life loves me, while leaving myself in constant stress. I could not keep asking for more ease while arranging my days in a way that guaranteed depletion. It was not enough to admire self-worth. I had to begin living as if I mattered. And that did not happen in one grand gesture. It happened in tiny, almost invisible decisions. Turning off the light a little earlier, not saying yes when my whole body meant no, eating more slowly, taking my own pain seriously without dramatizing it, sitting with myself instead of instantly escaping myself. The best started in those ordinary choices long before it ever appeared as a bigger outer change. And this is what I want for you. Not only the language of deserving, but the lived reality of it. I want you to begin asking, if I really believed I deserved the best, what would change in the next hour? Maybe you would not scroll through things that make you feel smaller. Maybe you would go outside for air. Maybe you would stop explaining yourself to someone who has no desire to understand you. Maybe you would feed your body before feeding your guilt. Maybe you would stop replaying that one painful conversation like it is your morning prayer. Maybe you would rest. Maybe you would finally admit that what you call being strong is actually being starved of tenderness. It is not necessary to overhaul your whole life tonight. That is not how this kind of healing works. But it is very important to stop postponing the best until some future version of you appears. The future is built by what you are practicing now. The best does not begin when your outer life finally becomes perfect. It begins in the quality of the relationship you are building with yourself today. It begins in the next sentence you choose, the next meal, the next boundary, the next breath, the next time you decide not to make yourself the last one on the list. And there is such dignity in that, such quiet, mature dignity. You are not demanding luxury from life. You are no longer agreeing to emotional poverty. You are not becoming dramatic. You are becoming clear. You are not asking for too much. You are beginning to understand how much harm was done by accepting too little for too long. That understanding can change a person. It can change the food they tolerate, the relationships they stay in, the pace at which they live, the voice they use with themselves, the amount of rest they allow, the kind of support they finally let in. So stay with this, sweetheart. Stand before the mirror, tell the truth. Let the resistance speak without letting it run the whole house. Then carry that truth into the day. Let your actions begin to match your words. If you say, I deserve the best, let there be one little piece of evidence for that today. One loving act, one honest no, one nourishing yes, one refusal to join the old inner abuse, one moment of care that says, I mean it. I am not merely saying this, I am beginning to live it. Because in the end, the mirror does not exist to accuse you. It exists to return you to yourself. And the best is not waiting only in some distant future where everything is finally fixed. It is already trying to begin in the way you are touching your life right now. In the next part, we can go even deeper into how these daily acts of self-worth reshape what you can receive, what you can tolerate, and what you will finally stop settling for. Can I ask you to pause with me for a moment and notice something very simple? When you think about deserving a better life, does all of you agree, or only part of you? Sometimes the mind says yes, but the body still braces. Sometimes the heart longs for peace, but the habits of daily life still move as if struggle were normal. Sometimes the spirit prays for something beautiful, but an old sadness is still sitting inside saying, "Not for me." That is why I want to take you into a more whole, more tender way of understanding worthiness. You will receive the good much more easily when your whole being begins to say yes together. Not just your words, not just your wishes, your body, your mind, and your spirit all have to be included in the conversation. When your whole being says yes to the good, life enters more deeply. Let's begin with the body, because the body is often the forgotten child in this work. People talk so much about abundance, peace, love, and self-worth, and yet they still treat their body as if it were an inconvenience, a burden, or something to control. My dear, caring for your body is not vanity. It is not shallowness. It is one of the most practical ways you say, "I am worth preserving. I am worth strengthening. I am worth tending." When you choose food that brings more life than numbness, when you let yourself sleep more deeply, when you move your body gently instead of punishing it, you are teaching your system something very important. I deserve to feel well. I have always loved very simple principles because healing often becomes complicated when it does not need to be. One of the simplest ways I have thought about nourishment is this: if it grows, let it come closer to you. If it doesn't grow, perhaps you do not need so much of it. That is not a rigid law. It is a loving orientation. More living food, more water, more breath, more sunlight, more rest, more gentle movement, less of what deadens you, inflames you, and leaves you feeling farther away from yourself. A body that feels respected becomes more willing to cooperate with healing. It is very difficult for the body to trust you when every message it receives is either neglect or force. I remember periods of my life when I thought I could think positively while still ignoring the body's needs. But the body always tells the truth eventually. If you are exhausted, if you are overstimulated, if you are undernourished, the mind becomes more vulnerable to fear, and the spirit can begin to feel very far away. So this is not a minor part of the journey. The way you care for your body is one of the ways you tell life what you believe you deserve. A woman who believes she is worth health begins to choose differently. A man who believes he is worth peace begins to rest differently, not perfectly, just differently. A little more lovingly, a little more consciously, a little less like someone who has to earn the right to be well. Now let's go to the mind, because the mind is where so many permissions are either granted or denied. The pictures you hold in your mind eventually become the emotional furniture of your inner life. If you repeatedly imagine yourself as depleted, rejected, unsupported, or the one who never gets the good, those images become familiar, and what becomes familiar begins to feel normal. Then what feels normal becomes what you unconsciously allow. This is why visualization and affirmation matter so much. Not because you are trying to fool yourself, not because you are pretending there is no pain, but because you are introducing your mind to a healthier atmosphere, one image at a time. A mind that has never been shown peace does not easily recognize peace when it arrives. A mind that has never been invited to imagine being loved well may feel awkward when real love finally comes near. A mind that has rehearsed scarcity for years will often reject enoughness simply because enoughness feels unfamiliar. You cannot easily receive a life your mind has never been taught is safe to live in. That is why I want you to become very deliberate with the scenes you allow inside. See yourself being treated gently. See yourself speaking calmly. See yourself in a home, a body, a rhythm of life that feels less violent to your nervous system. Let the inner world begin to practice what the outer world has not yet fully caught up with. Affirmations help here, but not as mechanical slogans. They are a way of introducing a different emotional possibility. You might say, I deserve to live in peace, or I am becoming available to healthier experiences, or it is safe for me to have a life that feels better than this. These are not silly little sentences. They are seeds. They are instructions. They are reminders to the subconscious that the old identity is not the only one available. And as the mind gets used to these new images and sounds, life begins to feel less like a repetition of the old wound and more like a place where something different can actually happen. But even body and mind are not the whole story. The spirit must be included too, because there are people who eat beautifully, organize their lives beautifully, say all the right words beautifully, and still cannot quite receive the deeper good because the heart is still heavy. There are old resentments, old griefs, old guilt, old unforgiven places that make the spiritual body contract. Sometimes what is blocking the good is not a lack of effort. It is the weight of what has not yet been released. This is why prayer matters. This is why forgiveness matters. This is why surrender matters. Not because you are weak, but because the spirit needs softening just as much as the body does. Prayer reminds you that you do not have to hold the whole world up by yourself. It reminds you that help is not shameful. It reminds you that you are supported by something greater than your current fear. Forgiveness, too, is a kind of spiritual untightening. It does not erase what happened. It does not call harm beautiful, but it stops the inner life from staying permanently wrapped around the wound. A heart that keeps releasing becomes more spacious for grace, and grace often enters where effort has already reached its limit. There is something very holy that happens when body, mind, and spirit all start moving in the same direction. The body says, I am worth caring for. The mind says, I am worth imagining differently. The spirit says, I am willing to release what keeps me closed. And when those three begin to agree, the change goes deeper. It no longer remains a nice idea. It becomes a lived permission. That is the beauty of a whole approach. Not one part dragging the others, not one part pretending while the others resist, but a gradual, loving, inner agreement. Yes, I am willing to let more good in. And from here we begin to understand another powerful truth. Life often reflects the standard you are quietly holding inside. Not always immediately, not in a simplistic or punishing way, but very often the outer world echoes the level of goodness you have inwardly permitted. This can be difficult to hear at first, because many people think they are receiving only what they consciously ask for. But often they are receiving what their deepest beliefs say is fitting. The spoken wish may say, I want more. The hidden belief may say, I only deserve this much. And life tends to organize itself around the deeper current. This is why someone may keep saying they want a loving relationship while continuing to accept emotional crumbs, or say they want peace while continuously choosing chaos, because chaos matches their familiar self-image, or say they want a more beautiful life while still carrying a silent standard that says, people like me do not get that. My dear, life often mirrors the inner standard you are quietly living by. Not because life is cruel, but because your permissions matter, your inner agreements matter, your self-image matters. If deep down you believe you are the one who gets the leftovers, you may keep choosing leftovers even while praying for a feast. If deep down you still identify yourself with an old failure, an old rejection, an old family pattern, an old wound, you may continue accepting environments and experiences that fit that image. It is not that you are doing it on purpose. It is that the nervous system, the mind, and the spirit all tend to organize around what feels familiar and deserved. That is why changing how you see yourself is not arrogance. It is not fantasy. It is not pretending you have no history. It is simply refusing to let the wound remain your biography. There is a difference between remembering what hurt you and building your identity around it. A healthy self-image does not deny the past. It just stops using the past as the final definition. You are not your old heartbreak. You are not your old poverty. You are not your old mistake. You are not your old body story. You are not your old family role. You may have lived through those things, but they are not the deepest truth of you. And once the self-image begins to heal, what you allow begins to heal too. When the picture you carry of yourself becomes more loving, the quality of what you let into your life rises naturally. I remember the first times I truly began to change the picture I held of myself. Nothing dramatic happened at first. There was no trumpet sound, no sudden perfect life. But little things began to feel wrong that I had once called normal. Certain conversations felt too harsh. Certain habits felt too punishing. Certain environments felt too small. I did not become demanding. I became honest. That is a very important distinction. A healed self-image does not make you look down on others. It simply makes it harder to keep agreeing to what dishonors your spirit. Better things often begin arriving after the image you hold of yourself becomes healthier. And that is why this is such tender work. We are not trying to become inflated. We are not trying to become better than. We are learning to stop receiving from the wound. We are learning to receive from value. That changes everything. The wound says, "This is all I get." Value says, "I am open to more truth than that." The wound says, "This is familiar, so I'll stay." Value says, "This may be familiar, but it is not kind." The wound says, "I should be grateful for anything." Value says, "Gratitude does not require me to accept what diminishes me." So if you want to know whether your inner standard is changing, look at what you are no longer willing to normalize. Look at what begins to feel too costly. Look at the moments when your soul quietly says, "No, not like this anymore." That is not selfishness. That is healing. That is your whole being beginning to agree with goodness. Your body wants more respect. Your mind wants more truth. Your spirit wants more space. And together they are teaching you a new level of receiving. This is where the real shift happens. You do not receive according to the wound anymore. You begin to receive according to your true value. And that does not make you hard. It makes you clear. It does not make you superior. It makes you available to a kinder life. It does not disconnect you from humanity. It brings you back into alignment with your own. So let this settle in you now. Care for the body like it matters. Feed the mind pictures of a better emotional reality. Soften the spirit through prayer, forgiveness, and release. Then watch what changes in the standard you hold. Watch what changes in the kind of treatment you can recognize, the kind of peace you can tolerate, the kind of support you can receive. Because when the whole self begins to agree with abundance, the outer life often starts to echo that agreement in ways that feel deeply, quietly right. Now breathe into that space, the one inside you that still tightens a little when good comes near, the one that wants love and peace and abundance, and yet still feels as though it must earn them through effort, suffering, or endless self-correction. Just breathe there for a moment. You do not have to fix it immediately. You do not have to talk yourself out of it. Let yourself simply notice, there is a place in me that still thinks I must pay extra for goodness, and that place is tired. A great many people live as though life were a stern accountant. They believe every blessing must be purchased with enough struggle, enough sacrifice, enough pain. They tell themselves, when I've worked hard enough, then I'll deserve rest. When I've healed every flaw, then I'll deserve love. When I've suffered long enough, then perhaps life will give something back. It sounds almost noble when you first hear it. It sounds responsible, serious, mature, but it is a very sad bargain. It keeps the heart forever kneeling before its own worth, as if love were something handed out only after enough punishment has been endured. You do not need to turn suffering into currency in order to buy what is already meant for you. This bargain is often so quiet that people do not know they are making it. They simply keep postponing goodness. They postpone rest until exhaustion. They postpone joy until achievement. They postpone peace until every outer problem has been solved. They postpone receiving until they have finally become some perfected version of themselves. But my dear, life is not asking you to become more wounded in order to become more worthy. It is not asking you to become more depleted to prove that you are sincere. Sometimes the deepest sincerity is simply this: to stop refusing what is good because you still feel loyal to your own pain. There is something very old in many of us that believes hardship is proof of virtue. If it is difficult, then it must be meaningful. If it costs us, then it must count. If we are tired enough, then maybe we are finally serious. But that is not always wisdom. Often, it is just an old misunderstanding. The good is not a prize for self-punishment. It is what begins to flow more naturally when you stop arguing with your own value. A healthy love does not arrive because you hated yourself long enough. Peace does not come because you criticized yourself into exhaustion. Support does not appear because you proved how little you could survive on. The good enters more easily when the inner war begins to quiet. So let us tell the truth here. You do not have to be more tired to be more deserving. You do not have to be more broken to be more lovable. You do not have to carry extra weight to prove that you mean it. Maturity is not more suffering. Maturity is the ability to receive something beautiful without guilt. That can be surprisingly difficult for people who have spent years measuring sincerity by struggle. A calm relationship may feel suspicious. A peaceful day may feel undeserved. Enough money may feel strangely unsafe. A kind word may bring tears because it lands in a place that has gone hungry for so long. None of that means something is wrong. It means the nervous system is learning a new world. It means goodness is arriving where bargaining used to live. And when goodness comes close, something else often appears right beside it: resistance. That is such an important thing to understand. People think they only resist what hurts them. Not true. Quite often they resist what might heal them if that healing feels too unfamiliar. A new possibility appears, and suddenly the old mind gets busy. It doubts, it delays, it picks apart, it creates confusion. It reaches back toward what is old, simply because the old feels known. A familiar ache can feel safer than an unfamiliar blessing. Human beings do not only fear pain, sometimes they also fear goodness when goodness asks them to become someone new. You may have seen this in yourself. Something starts to improve, and then a strange uneasiness rises. A relationship becomes more stable, and you find yourself provoking distance. Rest becomes available, and suddenly you feel restless. A better opportunity comes, and you delay answering, the next chapter opens, and part of you keeps staring at the previous one. This is resistance. Not because you are foolish, not because you secretly love suffering, because there are old places inside you that do not yet know that change can be kind. That is why I do not want you fighting your resistance as though it were the enemy. If resistance appears and you immediately attack yourself, you only add another layer of fear to what was already tender. Instead, pause, breathe. Put your hand on your heart if you can. Notice the tightening without making it a character flaw. Healing begins the moment you stop treating your resistance like a crime and start listening for the fear underneath it. You might softly say, "Ah, here is the old part of me that does not yet trust this," or "Here is the place in me that still thinks love must be complicated to be real." That kind of awareness softens the whole room inside. You do not need to drag resistance into transformation. You can invite it. You can meet it. You can reassure it. Tell your body, "This good is not a threat." Tell your heart, "We do not have to shrink because something kind is happening." Tell the old self, "I am not forcing you. I am just showing you that another way is possible." Then breathe a little deeper. Let the jaw loosen. Let the shoulders drop. Let the body experience, even for a few seconds, what it feels like not to brace against blessing. The good is not here to hurt you. There are simply parts of you that have not yet grown used to being loved without condition. And because this work becomes real through practice, not theory, I want to give you something living and simple. Stand before the mirror in the morning, not for performance, not for inspection, for truth. Look into your own eyes and say, "We deserve the best, and we are willing to accept it." Stay there for a breath, then make it personal. Name what your soul has truly wanted to welcome. I deserve to have love, peace, health, and abundance, and I accept them now. Say it slowly enough that your body can answer honestly. If something tightens, that is all right. Do not rush past it. That tightness is part of the conversation. Then bring in the releasing sentence, the one that gives the old pattern a way to loosen. I release the pattern in my consciousness that resists my good. Again, slower. I release the pattern in my consciousness that resists my good. Let those words come like warm water, not like a command. The point is not to overpower yourself. The point is to teach your system that receiving can be safe. Each time you say yes to the good, even imperfectly, you are rewriting something very old in your awareness. Another practice is just as important. Write down where you are still accepting less than the best. Make it concrete, not dramatic, just honest. A relationship where you keep calling emotional scraps good enough. A way of speaking to yourself that would break your heart if you heard it said to a child. A lifestyle that leaves the body chronically depleted. A lowered standard you have lived with so long that you barely notice it anymore. This is not an exercise in shame. It is an exercise in clarity. You cannot fully welcome the best while continuing to rename what is unhealthy as enough. The life you are accepting each day teaches your subconscious what you believe you deserve. This matters more than people realize. A person does not receive the best through a single beautiful affirmation if the rest of the day is spent acting as though they are the last and least important person in their own life. Worthiness has to become behavioral. It has to enter how you sleep, how you eat, how you rest, how you speak, how you draw boundaries, how you let people treat you, how you let yourself treat you. The affirmation lives when it enters your schedule, your standards, your tone of voice, your choices at 3 in the afternoon when you are tired and no one is watching. Your life gradually begins to resemble whatever standard of worth you keep practicing. And this is not greed. It is not vanity. It is not asking for more than your share. It is the end of agreeing to live on crumbs. It is the end of pretending smallness is holiness. It is the end of making deprivation into your identity. A person who knows they deserve the best does not become proud and inflated. They usually become calmer, clearer, less dramatic, less likely to betray themselves just to keep the old familiar patterns alive. There is a quiet dignity that enters. Things become simpler. Some doors close, some habits fall away, some tolerances disappear, not because the person is harder, because they are finally more aligned. That alignment is beautiful. At first, discipline may feel like effort. Receiving may feel awkward. Goodness may feel larger than your old self knows how to hold. Then, one day, something shifts. You stop arguing quite so much. You stop bargaining with life quite so much. You stop shrinking before the beautiful quite so much. The soul begins to stand differently, not louder, just truer. And from there, gratitude deepens. Real gratitude, not the kind that says, I should be thankful for whatever I get, but the kind that says, I honor the good because I no longer need to call pain my home. So let us gather this now into something simple and strong. You do not need to hurt more in order to deserve more. You do not need to earn love through exhaustion. You do not need to make yourself smaller to prove that you are good. You do not need to keep resisting blessing because it feels unfamiliar. What you need, if anything, is gentleness, clarity, repetition, a willingness to let your whole being learn that receiving is safe. If you'd like, place your hand over your heart and say these words with me, slowly, softly, letting each one land. We deserve the best, and we are willing to accept it. We deserve the best, and we are willing to accept it. We deserve the best, and we are willing to accept it. I am worthy of the best that life can offer me. I am worthy of the best that life can offer me. I am worthy of the best that life can offer me. I am willing to receive love, peace, health, and abundance. I am willing to receive love, peace, health, and abundance. I am willing to receive love, peace, health, and abundance. I release every pattern in my consciousness that resists my good. I release every pattern in my consciousness that resists my good. I release every pattern in my consciousness that resists my good. I no longer bargain with life in order to be loved. I no longer bargain with life in order to be loved. I no longer bargain with life in order to be loved. Loved. I open myself to the best right now. I open myself to the best right now. I open myself to the best right now. And maybe the thing that changes your life is not trying harder. Maybe it is finally refusing to keep accepting less than your true value. You did not come here to live on emotional leftovers. You came here to learn how to receive goodness with a peaceful heart. We deserve the best, and we are willing to accept it. And maybe, just maybe, today is the day something in you stops admiring that truth from a distance and begins quietly to live inside it.